Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Chris Flowers. Here's the deal. All right, today we're gonna have on Richard Reimer of sorry, sorry, I got a little distracted. Managing partner of Initiating Protection Law Group. I got excited with or distracted technical difficulties. Sorry. We're all having technical difficulties today. So Richard Reimer of Initiating Protection Law Group, the managing partner is going to be on. He's going to talk to us about the importance of protecting your brand and everything that you're doing that you work so hard for. So let's get into the show finally. And here's the deal. It's brought to you by Litchfield Auto. As you know, like Phil and his team, I've known them for like 15 years. They're located at 671 North 137th Avenue in Goodyear, Arizona. Phil and his team have always taken great care of me and all the cars I brought in. I have no problem recommending them to anybody. At least there's one fair and honest mechanic. Then, of course, we're brought to you by Phoenician Pool Spa and Patio, Clark Barnella. Like I said, known him and his family for many years as well. I know his work ethic. I have no problem recommending him also. And it says if you sign up for a weekly pool service, he will prorate you a month for free. Weekly service billed monthly as low as $115 a month, depending on the restrictions of area and the size of the pool. You can call him on his cell phone at 602 316 3671. His website is myarizonapoolservice.com. Text him the promo code "Here's a Deal" and he'll include a filter cleaning with weekly service up to 30% off of any new and repairs or upgrades. And we got two new sponsors this week. JTA Interiors, Jessica Avignon. Um, she says here, if you're looking to reimagine, elevate, and customize your living space or improve your company image, brand, and client experience through a well-planned and well-executed remodel, let me introduce you to an incredible team of experienced local designers here in Scottsdale area. JT Interiors has completed hundreds of commercial and residential projects in Arizona over the last 22 years. They offer material and finish selections, full construction drawings, and city submittal, 3D imagery, and construction administration services to ensure their clients have a partner through the phase and design and build process. Hiring a new design professional to help you create a plan, a budget, and a vision for the construction project eliminates unnecessary delays, mistakes, and stress down the road. Don't go it alone. JTA Interiors, build with a plan with a pro. And you can reach her at 480 278 9119. It's Jessica Avignon. And our other new coach we have on here is My Business Coaches with Eric Whitmoyer. He asks, are you ready to reform your business and achieve unprecedented growth? At My Biz Coaches, we specialize in turning small business into multi-million dollar success stories. Their team of experienced executives provide tailored coaching to help you scale your operations, boost your sales, and maximize your profits. Schedule a discovery session and experience the power of expert guidance. Visit mybizcoaches.com today and start your journey to a brighter and more profitable future. My Biz Coaches, your path to success. Visit mybizcoaches.com. And I can attest to that too, because I've already learned a lot from Eric just in a couple sessions. He's my business coach. Richard, how you doing this morning?
Doing great, Chris. How you doing today?
Doing well. I'd say, yeah, we both had a couple of technical
We did. That
difficulties
happened.
there. Hey, gotta work through it, right? That's how we do
Exactly. Exactly. New challenge for a third quarter.
it. Not everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's about how you persevere and push through, right?
Yeah, may that be the worst thing that happens to us this quarter.
If that does, then we're awesome.
Absolutely.
So let me introduce Richard. Richard Reimer is a managing partner of Initiating Protection Law Group. They're deeply invested in understanding and advocating for the unique legal brand protection needs, for your legal brand protection needs. Your success and peace of mind are their utmost priorities, and they pledge to be your partner in the journey. The core services of the brand protection include searching, authentication, policing, and enforcement. So, um, how did initiating protection start? Like, when did you start it, and how did it all get going?
Yeah, Chris, my law firm started 3 years ago. My journey in intellectual property began over 20 years ago I was fortunate enough to work for some really large and prestigious law firms. I represented a lot of great clients, large clients almost exclusively, had a lot of great colleagues, great mentors. I love my big firm experience. The one thing I didn't like about it, though, was so often as my a representative of my big clients, I was going after a small or mid-sized business. And 9 times out of 10, that smaller business would say, "What are you talking about? I didn't know that. How in the world am I supposed to get that? I've never been told that." Meanwhile, I'm having a career or business ending phone call with them, and they had no idea what was happening. I
Mhm.
realized after several of those phone calls that I was on the wrong end of the phone call. I needed to be representing that guy because he was the person or she was the person that ran the Little League, ran the PTA, and ran my community. So why in the world am I against that? I started my firm with the sole purpose of trying to help small and mid-sized businesses understand what intellectual property is, understand the risks associated with it, and more importantly, understand how they can use it to enhance their rights.
Yeah, like I said, that's the thing. Like that's the thing about here's the deal. Like I said, we try to educate and elevate. So we need to
Yeah.
get the information out to the people that they know to start a business or take their business to the next level. But having that protection in place is obviously huge. So most people who want to start a business generally go to like Secretary of State, they register a trade name, maybe the logo and things like that. That's we know that's literally just not even scratching the surface. So, um, it goes well beyond that. So in the beginning stages, what should an owner do at a minimum to get started, and what should their next steps be, and how soon should like I said, we got to have like a planning stage. So explain to us about that.
Exactly. Starting a small business is hard. You suddenly have to become an expert in a lot of things that you didn't know existed. You're wearing 100 hats at a time. Anyone who's run a small business, that includes me, gets that. There are a lot of things I've had to learn about that I knew nothing about beforehand, and we're all doing that. And a lot of the steps you mentioned are not wrong steps. They're just some of the many steps that are out there. Do you need to form an entity, establish it with your Secretary of State? Most likely, that would be the area of a CPA and or a corporate lawyer, which I am different from that type of lawyer. Do you need to go? Maybe you're hiring employees, so you need to register with the Department of Employment. Obviously, you need to get an employee identification number from the IRS. You probably need insurance. You need a bank account. You need a web domain name. You need all those things. Absolutely. In my area, the thing I'd like to inform people is any of those steps, all the steps together, do nothing to ensure that you have the ability to use your brand, the name that you chose for your company or your product or your service, risk-free.
Mhm.
When you choose to take my step to deal with a trademark lawyer, to deal with an intellectual property attorney, a brand protection attorney, all same names for the same person, that's up to you. A lot of people do say, "I've got so much going on day one. You are not a day one issue." And I can appreciate that. But I do think that before you get to the point where you're going to scale, before you go through your existence and survival stages of your journey through business and you're hitting your growth stage, before you hit that growth stage, as you're beginning that hockey stick curve up, that's when we need to talk. You have no guarantee that you have a right to use your name, A, against other people, so no one else will try to copy you, but B, are you infringing on someone else? We can go into that a little bit more, but that's timing of everything.
See, but it's in a way, I would disagree. You say that's not a day one issue. I think it is. I think it's the day one issue because, like I said, if you don't know. I mean, like I said, look at the WWF for how many years was it the WWF World Wrestling Federation, and then the other WWF came in and said, no, you can't use our WWF, and then they had to switch the whole thing to the WWE.
Yes.
And of course, Vince McMahon is a billionaire, so yeah, he was able to make that transition. Not everybody can. Plus, this thing's your baby. You start this thing out. Hey,
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people have, here's the deal. A lot of different podcasts, things like that, but they don't have my logo. They don't have it, and plus they don't have me. But
That's the key part.
one of one. So
Yes.
no, but I think it's a day one issue. To me personally, I would say get in front of you as soon as possible because you don't want to build this thing up and your passion, your blood, and your baby and this that. Then come to find out, yeah, we're gonna take your baby. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
golden.
And,
Yeah.
and Chris, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think I view the brand, and this is a marketer's perspective, this is a lawyer's perspective. The brand is what you build your business on top of. The
Yes.
business can only be as strong as your brand is. And if
Right.
you have to change your brand the way Vince McMahon did, obviously you have to inform all your consumers, all your interested parties to come along with you, and you're going to lose some along the way, and it's just going
Mhm.
to be different. Another good example involving another billionaire is Jeff Bezos. He
Mm.
started his Amazon company back in the 90s and really had no idea that one day it wouldn't be a guy in a garage sending books out. He had no idea that it would be what it is today. And we all, as small business owners, think we're going to be bigger tomorrow than we are today. His bigger was much bigger than most of us. As he got bigger, ran against a small bookstore in Minnesota called Amazon Bookstore.
Oh.
And they sued him saying, you can't sell your Amazon branded books or the Amazon books sold through the Amazon retail online store in Minnesota. And back then it was hard to cordon it off. I think it's still hard to do that. And they settled for $40 million. So unlike
Wow.
Vince McMahon, Jeff Bezos wrote a check for $40 million. Now I hope to be in a position where I can cut a check for $40
I
million.
wish.
It's not a big deal, but I would kind of argue that had Jeff Bezos on day one spent a few $100s with me, and back then it would have been literally a few $100s in the 90s, he
Mhm.
wouldn't have had to spend $40 million a few, less than a decade later.
Mhm.
So look at it like that. What was the cost to Vince McMahon? He probably lost some consumers. He probably thought, hey, that guy is a wimp. He's letting the World Wildlife Federation push him around. And, you sort of lose your brand image that way. Or you can struck a really big check, or you can hire me. Those are kind of your three options. And as a very quick, just to give people a sense, this initial project we're talking about is currently $400. A lot of lawyers have rates like that, so I'm not talking about mine specific, although I'd like you to come to me. It's not a get out a mortgage, a second mortgage to pay for the lawyer type of event. It's a very easy transaction.
Let's see, that's good to know because I think it's another thing too. It's like, hey, I can't afford a lawyer. I mean, it's like, hey, I can't afford that. I'm just going to kind of, push it out and like that. $400, really?
Yeah,
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 $400 for that peace of mind, knowing, hey, my brand is good, or hey, I need to shift gears right now
right
so
now.
I can know where
Exactly.
to go. $400, 40 million. What do you want to
Very easy.
do?
Easy math. All right, you're good at math. Is that a win?
I would call that a win. I think the ROI is fantastic myself.
Yes.
So yeah, I call that a win. Absolutely. Okay. So what if that happens? So what if you build a business and you got some brand recognition and, you discover someone else is using your brand? Like, how do we kind of help them from there?
Yeah, there's sort of two ends of brand protection. There's the defense and the offense you think about. One issue is here I've got my brand name, my company name, my service I'm out there with, whatever, my product name, and I'm getting some traction. People know me by that. They're no longer looking for Chris or Richard. They're looking for our brand at this point.
Mhm.
We've got some real traction here. And you notice someone else in the marketplace is using a very similar brand. Well, that's an example of infringement. The test, by the way, is likelihood of confusion. Is their name close enough to yours that the average consumer would be confused and think that there's some connection between the two? So it's, for initiating protection, it might be initial protecting would be confusing enough, even though
Mhm.
it's not identical. And it might not be IP law services. It could be immigration law services or something that's, tangential to what I do. If you have a registration, the ability to go after, pursue that person and make them stop or change their name or pay you damages or pay you royalties or all the above is a much easier route. So a registration, which itself, beyond the searching, which is $400, the registration itself would be a few $1,000s, but it gives you the peace of mind that if you need to go after someone, you have the paper that shows you own that piece of property, just like the deed that your real estate, your home or whatever you own real estate wise is recorded with the courthouse.
Mhm.
This is a deed that's recorded with the United States Patent and Trademark Office that shows you are the exclusive owner of this, and it gives you a really good presumption to start with. Let's shift gears. That's when you're on offense. If someone comes after you and they says, "Hey, that property you own, that brand is something somehow infringing us," you now have, you're a presumed good user. You've done everything you can to be as open and notorious, outgoing, public facing with using your brand as you possibly can. You've registered it with the government. You've been using it in front of the public. It's going to be really hard for them to push you away from that. So if you like your brand and you don't want anyone encroaching on your territory, or even worse, yes, you want someone else saying that is their territory, get it registered. It's kind of a no-brainer. A few $1,000s to have the peace of mind that this is mine. It's insurance, if you will.
Hmm. So you don't want the demand letter coming in telling you to cease and desist, like, hey,
And we can't stop those demand letters from coming in. One great thing about our country, I say that a little tongue in cheek, is anyone can sue anyone for any reason, anytime.
ain't that the truth?
It's kind of the way the world we live in. But do you not want the ability? And you might be that person that decides you need to sue. I don't think many people go around suing for fun. I don't think that's a hobby by anyone. But if you find yourself in a lawsuit involving your brand, having the registration is about the best place you can be in. One thing too that helps people understand this, as a lawyer for 2 decades now, I've talked about the strength of your brand or this weakens your brand or whatever. And I don't know what my clients usually think of as I have these long sort of theoretical discussions. They're probably thinking the scales of justice tipping one way or the other way, or I don't know what's in their mind. But I realized earlier this year that I don't know what's in their mind, and that's a problem. I've created a system to help my clients called a grade mark. And this
Okay.
grade mark helps on a 0 to 10 scale understand how much power your brand has if you were challenged or need to challenge someone.
Hmm.
How strong are you versus what you could be? And what can you do to get better? And young brands, by the way, will have a low score because the power of a brand is related to effort. How long have you actually been in the marketplace, which is not a lawyer thing? How much marketing are you putting out there, et cetera?
Hmm.
And then there's a lot of lawyer things too that we've already talked about and some we haven't touched on. And knowing what you can do to strengthen your brand and how much it strengthens it really helps you understand the value for the services that are out there. And some might be high cost and low return. Well, maybe you're not going to go for those. Others are very high return and low cost, like the search. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's no doubt. All right. So I also wanted to talk to you too about a little bit because there's two different types of businesses that are out there. Obviously, there's a service-based business and there's manufacturing-based businesses and things like that. So, and apples to apples. You got to, certain things need certain protection. So I wanted to see if maybe you can, get into that a little bit. Obviously, 10,000 foot level of, if you're in a, manufacturing business, here's some things you want to definitely have in your corner, and if you're in a service-based business, here's some things you want to have in your corner. What should they focus on?
Absolutely, Chris. I think you're right on that there are, even the world of trademark recognizes the two things. The technical name for this legal right we give for brands is a trademark. The same legal right for services is technically called a service mark. So they really are different things and they have different treatments of the law. But in terms of how you, the consumer out there listening right now, the average listener of Chris's show, who's probably an owner of a small business or otherwise thinking, hey, this brand protection thing, someone can take my brand from me. What are you talking about? The big thing I want you to know is you should think in terms of your big brands, and they might be a product you sell, they might be a service you offer, but in terms of how we look at them, they're kind of the same. Now, there's some crossover that the restaurant out there needs to be worried about, the frozen foods that are similar in the grocery store that, if you're a hamburger restaurant, there's frozen hamburgers in the grocery store. Those names can't be similar. But in terms of just overall scope, I would want customers, my clients, to think about one, let's get the name of our company not locked down, especially if you're using it.
Mhm.
I'm not the I'm doing this for fun LLC name, but here's the deal. If you have a different LLC name, but the name of the company you're putting out there, and then what are your big services? What are your big products? A lot of people have both and don't even realize it. Go back to the restaurant example. Restaurants often will have the name of the restaurant, which is probably their biggest brand. But then you look at their menu and they have 15 really unique names for their menu items.
Oh, okay.
And so there are
Never
other
thought about it.
product names on there that could be unique enough and valuable enough to the client. And it's a real test. He's saying, is it valuable enough? What in the world does he mean? If someone told you to stop, would you want to fight them? If the
Mhm.
answer is yes, it's valuable enough. If the answer is like, nah, I'd go on, I'd change it, no big deal. Don't engage me. That I'm not worth that one. That's a throwaway right there. But the one where you thought, you know what, he called my baby ugly, I'm going to punch him. That's the guy that you need to register.
Okay. So, like I said, is there anything like like you said, one maybe need a trade name or trade, trademark protection. One needs a what were those maybe again?
Yeah, and again, the main message I'm trying to give is the same service as far as what you need from a lawyer
Okay,
applies. We still need to look whether you're selling a service or you're selling a good. We still need to
gotcha.
do some sort of search. I would likely still recommend some type of registration for it. Maybe technically someone called a service mark or trademark, but that's kind of in the weeds for you. And then later on, as your brand is more mature, I would want to talk about policing and enforcement. So the same steps of brand protection apply to either one. Now, if you're a manufacturer and you're selling someone else's manufactured branded goods, make sure you have a license to be able to put that on there, their name on there. But otherwise, you don't need to worry about the bicycle playing cards going through your machines. You're not needing to register the name bicycle. That's the bicycle company's right and problem.
Mhm. Yeah, see, that's something that you made me think about that, I said, probably the listeners aren't thinking it either. Like I said, that whole restaurant thing and the menu thing. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, this is my dish. This is and this is one of the signature dishes of the restaurant. I should register that too. Somebody doesn't come along and, take that name too, or tell me, hey, you can't, that I never even
Right.
considered that. So like I
Yeah,
said,
we think of McDonald's. Obviously, McDonald's is registered. That's a restaurant service, but they have Big Mac, filet of fish, chicken nuggets, quarter pounder, McRib, on and on. All
yeah.
those names are also important to them. They wouldn't want me opening a restaurant and selling the filet of fish.
Right. Nope. 100%. That makes total sense. I'm glad you brought that up. And then going into that, is there anything maybe that we haven't covered that you might want to touch? We got a couple minutes left. So is there anything maybe we haven't touched on that you may want to consider?
Man, Chris, we could talk all day long, and I would love to have that
We're,
conversation. But
we're gonna we're
I'm
gonna
gonna
have
think
other
of your
shows. We're gonna have other
I'm gonna
shows.
think of your poor listener and give them a break right now. But the one thing that I do want to stress is law is not an easy thing, and I struggle as every lawyer does to try to make it easy for the client to understand. But I use numbers where I can, quantitative answers to things. I use charts where I can, red for big risk, green for little risk, to help the client, have a fighting chance to figure out what is he trying to convey to me. I like to walk them through the process. I realize that the person I'm talking to is not a lawyer. They're really good at going back to the restaurant owner, running a restaurant. But that, and just like I can't run a restaurant, they couldn't run a law firm.
There you
So I
go.
try to meet them halfway. And just like they make a great dish for me, I try to make a great dish for them.
That's awesome. And then, yeah, I said, tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, the name of my law firm is Initiating Protection. So you can find us on the internet at initiatingprotection.com. That's INITIANTI. I'll try that again. INITIANGPROTECTION.com. You can email me at richard@initiatingprotection.com. And if you want to call me the old fashioned way, I do pick up my phone. You can reach me at area code 678-965-3268.
That's awesome. Like I said, hey, and we are recording this pretty early in the morning, so you got to cut us a little slack here. So,
Yes, thank you.
hey, Richard, like I said, I really appreciate the time. I appreciate your expertise, and like I said, we'll definitely have to have you on again because, like I said, yeah, this is
Love
a
it,
whole
Chris.
ocean of topics that we can uncover. So, like I said, we'll definitely get you scheduled to come back on again. I appreciate
I
your time,
appreciate
brother.
it. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, man. Have a great day. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye.
All right, guys. And in closing, as we always, we always go into closing, just like to say, first of all, I want to give thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who gave me the gift and the ability to do shows like this to educate and elevate. That's what we're here to do. And then, of course, to my family who supports me in this endeavor. And, we couldn't do this without my wife and kids behind me. The sponsors, like I said, we got two new sponsors on, which is great. So we're growing that aspect, but we still got room for more. So if you want to sponsor the show, come bring it, but bring a checkbook. And then of course, like I said, there's always, the subscribers, the listeners. Like I said, if I don't have subscribers and listeners, I don't have a show. So thank you all. You guys are the blood behind this thing. So like I said, just keep subscribing, keep telling your friends, and let's keep bringing them on board. And like I said, let's keep educating and let's keep elevating because that's what Here's the Deal is all about. And I'm out.